Alright, I'm going to make a quick video here on the RSNAV wired and wireless Android Auto and Carplay module. It's not a screen replacement, but it's the standalone module, which you'll see here shortly. So I have my radio release keys. There's a little slot right on each side. I'm going to insert those in. And then you'll see here in a second the radio will just slide right out. So there you have the MMI unit. Basically slides right out when those keys, they kind of get locked in just a little bit there. I'm going to pull those out, set those aside. Then I've got a interior trim tool. Basically, let me just slide that back in. You can just slide this in just as a little wedge. You'll see it just pops out the climate control. As you can see, I already have it installed, and here's my little USB where I kept it. So let me go ahead and pull these out and then keep going. So here you can see MMI and climate control pulled out of the way. Everything is still connected, so you should have a little bit of room. You can see back in the RSNAV unit that I have, I slid it in just below. I think the instructions say to place back in here in the right pocket, but I found that it was way too tight, and so I slid mine in, just set it under the bottom. What I'm going to do though is real quickly take everything out, so then walking through basically the setup and the connection. This is just as is, but I'm going to take everything apart and then walk through everything. So the first two I'm going to start with here. This is the climate control. This is the original module here, the original cable that comes out of the back here. After you release that red tab, push down on the button, they pop right out, both of them. Although this smaller one doesn't actually need to be taken out, but I have it out so that we can see this here. Now here is the bypass from the RSNAV unit for the climate control. As you can see, male and female ends from the car. Got the female, so obviously the male is going to go right in, plug and play on this end. We're going to connect those two, and then this cable is going to go right back in. So basically you're just bypassing everything kind of as a feed through. So I just went ahead and connected the climate control from the vehicle into the RSNAV module. Now we have this side here. We're just going to clip that in to the back. Sorry here. Bear with me. We're just going to put that in the back of the climate control. Snap that in. Go ahead and put the other the car cable in here, and then we'll move on to the next piece. There you go, climate control hooked up with the bypass. Okay, so there's the car cable coming into the RSNAV cable, RSNAV into the back of the climate control. Alright, so now the MMI is exactly the same as climate control. Here is the MMI connector. Move this out of the way just slightly. And here we have the RSNAV bypass. Okay, so we've got the male going into the female here on this end, and we're essentially then going to clip this end here, the female end, right into the back of the MMI. Okay, so here you can see this here is the MMI from the car joined to the RSNAV connector, now going into the back of the MMI. Alright, as you can see, here's my RSNAV unit. All my dip switches are up. I'm on a 14 SQ5. I went ahead and plugged in the RF cable, which you can see I bundled up and just stuck right in under there, which hides just beneath the climate control. It has the LVDS coming out the back that splits into two cables, which we'll get to here in a second. I did nothing with the USB and video. I just kind of kept the wires together, and then as you can see, the USB kind of shoots back in and around, and I just set below back there in the background. I'm using wireless, but if you want to use wired, that's the USB that you would plug your phone directly into. I'm on a Pixel, and so the wireless works phenomenally. And then here is the main cable going to all of the harnesses, splits out to the MMI harness, and then splits back to the climate control, which is hanging down there. Okay, on to the part where I think is really the only place where you can malfunction here, the LVDS cable. You can see as it goes in, as it comes out of the RSNAV unit, it splits into two cables here. So one cable is going to be, you're basically operating the LVDS installation the same as the MMI and the climate control. You're just basically intercepting the signal. So this gray LVDS was plugged in down here on the back of the MMI unit. This here is coming from the car, and it was plugged in down there into the back of the MMI. So it's the gray, not the yellow. You can see there's a yellow LVDS right next to it. The instructions, very not clear here, very unclear. This is a 50-50 guess. And so I think I guessed right the first time because it worked when I installed it. But you can see here, I just took the gray LVDS out of the back of the MMI, plugged it into, it's a 50-50 here, right? So actually let me pop. So this was the cable. I just disconnected them real quick. So this was what was going into the back of the MMI. You only have one of the two connectors fits. So you can see this is the male version into the female here. And then here's the other cable, the other LVDS, the female coming out of the RSNAV unit. Just gonna plug that right back in to where the one from the car harness was at. So you can see it used to be gray on gray, now it's this turquoise on gray, which I'll get. Alright, so that basically finishes off the installation. The one LVDS, the turquoise to the gray, the MMI connector that we basically have just bypassed, and then also I've got the climate control all set up. Now it's a hot mess, right? As we can tell, because I got everything hanging out. But at this point, I would go ahead and turn the car on. Use your VAGCOM, I believe. I don't use that, I believe that's what it's called. I use OBD11, which I'll show you here shortly as how to get into the green menu to activate. Okay, so I've activated green menu. I'm gonna hold car button down first and then hold menu to get the green menu to pop up. If you hold down menu, pop up, not pop up. Okay, we're gonna scroll to diagnose, center button, settings, center button. What I mean by center button is the center button here on your joystick, to AMI aux center button. Now mine are all enabled because I've already done this, but they should all be disabled by default, and you don't want to touch any of them except aux. Not so sure why the other two are enabled. Maybe because I have an AMI port, I don't know. But when I first did this, they were all disabled. So then you're going to center button on aux, and it should be here. You're going to rotate basically rotate this knob until it goes to enabled, and then push down on the center button again so that it's green and it stays enabled. Then pushing any button should take you out of the green menu. You're going to want to hold menu, center, and upper right button to reboot MMI. And as soon as you release, reboot. So Now a couple things you should notice. Here you see external audio input show up on your media source. And then now hold down nav. There you go. There's the wireless interface. Okay. It's pretty simple from here. You just go into the setting. You go in, you can modify all this stuff in here. I'm using mine wireless, so obviously I go here to wireless. There you can see my pixel. As promised, there's the pop-up. So I'm shooting this video on the phone that I'm using to show you, which it will not work. Something in the setup and the connection just keeps interrupting the video. So trust me that it does fit and everything goes back together. As you can see, there's the RSNAV right here. It's a tight fit, but if you can't reach, put the radio in first, reach your hand back, kind of shuffle around some of the cables to get them out of the way of the back of the MMI unit. Don't forget your little peekaboo USB, and then you can see the MMI, or not the MMI, sorry, climate control just snaps right back in place. And the USB kind of pokes out that little plastic cover, which is okay, it doesn't go anywhere, not harming anything. I checked, cable's not pinched. That's it. Should be all ready to go, enjoying wireless or wired Android Auto or CarPlay.